Hi guys, this is jjlockhART back again this week with a new art video. And this week I'm doing something I guess that I haven't really done before, and that's a sort of art supply review. I recently got this 36 tin of color pencils. They're the Polychromos from Faber Castell. And these are some color pencils that I had sort of been eyeing for a while, but they are pretty pricey. So I sort of had to wait a little bit and do a little research first to see if it's really what I wanted. And I guess I've pretty much have always used the Prismacolors, but I was just getting tired of, I guess, the poor quality of the pencils, and I wanted to try something different. So I heard that these Faber Castells were really good, so I decided to buy a pack, and I wanted to get a large enough pack with a good variety of colors. That's why I had to sort of save up some money to be able to afford them. But I really like them, and as you can see, I'm doing like little close-ups of the pencils right now. And the interesting part about the pencils is that they kind of have some gold writing on them, sort of like the Prismacolor that I'm showing here, and I'm just showing it as comparison. As you can see, the one I'm showing for comparison has like the wood kind of split, and that's this one's also a Prismacolor, but it's a Verithin, and I just wanted to show it as far as like size comparison. But that's one of the things that I'm tired of the Prismacolors. The wood keeps splitting, the lead keeps cracking and breaking, and it's just and then just the quality of the actual wood is not that great. And I get tired of them always breaking and then the wood splitting. But there I'm holding that green one is the Faber Castell, so you can sort of see size difference. The Faber Castell are larger. They're a little bit like wider or thicker, not by much, but a little bit, and they just seem more quality. So here I'm just testing out coloring a little bit, but as you can see, the information on the pencils are in this nice gold color, and it just has like that they're made in Germany. They also have a little symbol that means that the lead is bonded, which means that the actual core of the color pencil is sort of like, I guess, glued in with the wood casing around it. And that, what it does, it prevents it from breaking so much. It just helps it stick together longer. And over here I show a different angle because from above the lights kind of wash it out, and it was kind of hard to show the texture. So I've input some footage from a lower angle with a little bit the light is not as bright, and that way you can sort of see the texture of the pencil. And the paper I'm using for this is just let me pull it out so I can tell you exactly what it is. It's Premier watercolor. I just used watercolor paper. It's 140 pounds or 300 GM, and it's let me see if it's I think it's cold press. Yeah, because it has a sort of texture to it. And these pencils are they're like thick oil based lead, so it's water resistant and smudge proof. I didn't really check if it was water resistant. I didn't check with any water, but smudge proof, yeah. I mean, as you can see when I'm coloring there, they kind of sort of are a little bit powdery, like still let off a little bit of powder as I'm drawing. Not a lot, but a little bit. And even when I blow it off or swipe it away with my hand, it doesn't like smudge. So I would say they're definitely smudge proof. And as you can see, the colors are very bright, very vibrant, very pigmented. And you can also see that the lead, even with these closer up, is a lot thicker. And in some cases when I was coloring, you can see they kind of like chip a little bit. But I think that's the only like thing that I noticed. And as you can see with this watercolor paper, it's not very smooth, so you can see all the texture of the paper. And so I was trying to see also at what point am I burnishing or laying down a thick amount of the actual color pencil on the paper. And here I'm attempting to do like a blend of 3 colors. But also the color, the coat of color on the actual color pencils is environmentally friendly. It's a water-based varnish on there, so that's good as far as the actual pencils, they're wood and real pigments, and then the varnish on them is water-based. But as you can see, I went with the yellow first, and I went with the really dark blue, and then with the green, and then I'm sort of merging the colors together, and I'm slowly covering all the white from the paper. And they are very smooth to actually blend. The pencil on paper, it just feels smooth as you're sweeping. And as you can see, I'm like slowly applying more pressure as I go. And I do have to apologize if you hear me sniffling a little bit or my voice sounds a little odd. I am battling a cold currently. And here I put a little bit down of each color, and I'm actually using a low odor thinner for like oil color. It's just a low odor thinner with a paintbrush, just to see if that helps in the blending process. And I feel like it really does. The low odor thinner is supposed to sort of break down all of the binding in the color pencil, so that the only thing that you see is the pigment, or the only thing that's moving around is the pigment. So it's a very very useful technique when you're blending colors. As you can see, the low odor thinner really does break down the binding and allows the pigment to really be moved around or appear smoother. And here I'm testing to see if it erases. First I try that gum, it's a Artgum by Sanford eraser. And then I try this white Impure Moped eraser, and that one seems to work very well with it. The first eraser didn't work too well, but this white one did. And it's very useful in case you're drawing and you feel like you may have went over the line a little bit or went into a certain area, or you change your mind about a certain color. You can always go in and erase. So that's really nice, the ability to be able to erase it. And as you can see, it's faintly there, but I'm able to erase most of it up. And right here I'm testing a different kind of paper. I'm using a Strathmore mixed media paper, and it's 100% cotton on a sort of a vellum finish. And I just want to see if all that texture is from the paper alone or from the actual color pencils. And as you can see, it does go on much smoother on this smoother paper, but there is still some sort of texture that's coming from the actual color pencils. In that area, I'm really burnishing. I'm really laying down the color pencil really heavy to see if I can get most of that paper texture out and most of that color pencil texture out. As you can see, it's a little shiny from where I've burnished it. Yeah, and in comparison to the other paper, it is much smoother. And I'm laying down some blue, and as you can see, the lead does crumble a little bit. I guess the core is a little bit, I guess since it is oil based, maybe it's just a little brittle, and so sometimes when you apply too much pressure, it'll crack a little bit. And there I'm trying the low odor thinner again on the smoother paper, and as you can tell, that low odor thinner really does do a very good job of breaking down the binding and really allowing the pigment to blend. And it really does go on there, especially on this smoother paper. The pigment just goes right on there a lot smoother. And I did try that red with the purple to see how that would blend together. And it did pretty well. The colors seemed to blend very well together. And so now I'm doing like a little like swatch area of the color pencils. I didn't really try the white color pencil on white paper because I know that you wouldn't be able to see it anyways. And I know it's a little bright, it's a little bit hard to see the colors, but I do switch the camera angle in a little bit so you can see the color variations. But I'm just going through this quickly just to see what the different colors look like. And like I said, I could have gotten a smaller box, but I definitely wanted a good, I guess, a good collection of them. So I thought the 36 pack would be a good way to start, and it would give me a good variety of colors to start off with. I just thought maybe like the 12 pack would be too little, and I thought the larger packs would just be too big, and if I didn't like them, they're so expensive. So I thought 36 would be a good pack. I also really like the tin case that they come in with. Another thing that I found really interesting is that on the actual pencil, the name is each pencil is labeled with their name in German and in English, and it also has like these little asterisks, and depending on how many there are, it means how light fast it is. So if there's only one asterisk, it's reasonably light fast. If there's two, it's light fast. If there's three, it's very light fast. And what that means is that your colors are gonna stay pretty intact with time. So that's really good as far as like keeping the integrity of your artwork. And here's a different angle so you can see the colors. And before, all the blues sort of look the same, but now you can see the variation in the blues, and they're all very nice. And now I decided to just sort of try out the color pencils, and these two beetles I have previously done, and I'll try and remember to leave a card or the other video in the description, but I did do a video not too long ago with these beetles, and I did them in watercolor actually, and I knew they were very colorful, so I wanted to try them out and see how they would look with the Polychromos. So I did these beetles previously using watercolors, and I knew they were really colorful, so I thought that that would be great to try out with these Polychromos. So if I can remember, I'm going to try and put the other video in the description below or in the cards, so you can see what these beetles look like when I used watercolor. But as you can see, I started off with like really thin layers of the colors first, and then I kept adding, and I went darker and darker, and I kept adding until I pretty much take out all of the paper underneath, and I'm putting layer after layer of color pencil until the color is opaque on top of the paper. And these I just I did the line work in digital, and then I printed them off on just regular paper, so that way we could test out these color pencils. So this is just on regular copy paper, so there's very little texture to the paper, and it's pretty smooth. And I feel like these color pencils do a very good job. I was able to keep adding and adding and adding and adding, and getting the color to the intensity that I wanted, which is very nice. Especially with this beetle, there's so many layers, or there's so many like variations of color. It's like a rainbow, and these color pencils do a very good job of layering. And look how deep that dark blue is. It's just so deep. It's very nice, very vibrant colors. And as you can tell, I did dim the lights a little bit so that it'd be easier to see the colors. And with this beetle, the colors aren't as vibrant. Well, I would say compared to that other beetle. But I really wanted to see this top area. I'm gonna use this like that lime green color, and then that like a mustardy camel color. And I think to some point, like near the end, those two colors do get kind of muddy together. But I mean, that camel color is kind of a muddy color, so it did kind of dull the green a bit, and you'll see that later on. But that area right there with the yellow and the orange and the green, that area stayed pretty bright and pretty true. And I think the interesting part is when I painted these the first time, I decided to use watercolor so that I could get these vibrant hues. And I sort of approached it the same way, where I added layer and then another layer and then another layer. And it's the same thing I'm doing with these color pencils, is you just keep adding layers and layers and layers until you've achieved the richness of color and the opaqueness on the paper, that sort of satisfies. And I just keep adding layer after layer after layer after layer. And what I think is interesting is that these color pencils, you can do that with them. It's not like they don't really go muddy. They don't really lose their vibrancy. They don't ruin the paper. So I think it's just very interesting that you're able to add so many layers with these color pencils. And even after you've used a color pencil and it's like to the point where it's burnished, you can still add more color to it. I think that's very interesting. And I'm just adding a little bit of highlights here with a white pen. But I think it looks fantastic. It almost looks as vibrant as when I used the watercolors. I'm quite surprised that I'm able to get that level of vibrancy. And as you can see, as I shift it, you can see how it's a little shiny from where the color's been burnished. See, it's a little shiny. But that's incredible. The vibrancy of these color pencils. I'm very impressed. And there are all the color pencils back together in their little case. I love that metal tin case. It holds them real nice. And overall, I really like these color pencils, and I really do. I think they're definitely worth the price. And if you're an artist, go for it. Thank you for watching. Bye.